Now, first of all, I'd like to welcome the Director of National Educate, branch managers, deputy headmasters, teachers, students, and juries. Now, first of all, I invite Director of National Education, Hüseyin to make his speech here.
Honorable school administrators, distinguished guests and students. Today, we have been gathered here to watch great performances of our students from different schools located in Alanya. At the very outset of my speech, I would like to inform you very briefly about details of our debate contest. Starting from 14th of January until today, we excitedly watched 60 matches with 120 team performances and 480 personal performances. In the category of middle schools, 21 different schools were represented in the contest with 105 students. For the category of high schools, our debate contests were organized under two different language categories, namely Turkish and English. 23 high schools participated in the Turkish category with 115 students. For the first time this year, our high schools experienced a debate contest in English. 16 high schools with 80 students were represented in this category. We witnessed amazing performances in the debate matches which revealed the level and quality of English education in our district. This is the success of our English teachers working in Alanya. Total number of students participated the contest reached the number of 300, a very significant number for our district. This amazing number reveals the capacity as well as the quality of education service in Alanya. We have selected various topics for the contest ranging from nature that we live in, social media and technology. We use the social issues such as traffic accidents, garbage problem, and the development of our civilizations. We also touched the issues about personal success, physical health, as well as mental health. The team performances were assumed by competent jury members that are Turkish and literature teachers, English teachers, and academicians. I believe that our students have acquired a significant experience and raised their knowledge in a variety of fields. They have been equipped with the ability to make independent research, to analyze the data and to explain the results to the audiences. With these words, I wish all our students a successful academic and intellectual life in their future by means of knowledge and experience they acquired in the debate contest. Thank you.
Thank you, speech made by our National Director of Alanya. Now, the reason why we are here is that we all gather for a very important reason. That's inter-school debate competition. As English teachers, we regard the competition as an important social mobility. What I exactly mean here is that in English lessons, we have no opportunity to develop our speaking ability, I say the students. Since our students have been given mainly the grammar, vocabulary, tenses, and so on, They're all equipped with the grammar. There is nothing so unpleasing as internalizing everything in detail into English, but not able to convey your feelings, not able to use it properly. This is something like having a driving license in your pocket, but not able to use this driving license completely, not able to drive your valuable car. Now, what I exactly mean here is that we have to give importance to the speaking ability a little bit more. Now, suppose that you have every details in English, in a language, I mean, not only the English, but you are not able to convey your feelings to the people who knows English better than you, I mean the receiver. So what's the meaning of having all this knowledge if you don't know convey your feelings, or if you don't know how to contact with someone, with the foreigners or the people coming from the European countries? Now, I think this comes from the tasks to be solved, because English is regarded as tasks to be solved. No, this is not a task to be solved. If you find the right option, for example, in private schools or the one high school entrance exams, you just write the right option, A, B, C, D. So if you find the right option, you are number one in the class, number one in the school. So this is not a thing to be finding the right option, that to speak. Now, shortly, if I come to the conclusion, this social mobility is playing very important role to develop their conversation, students' conversational competence, qualification. Now, let me introduce the juries to you. Now, first, Dr. Burak Başkan, academician in the field of science. Second, English teacher Ece Tunçkıran, Şükrü Mülazimoğlu Middle School. And third one, English teacher Dr. Suat Kaya, Konaklı Kemalatlı Middle School. Now, let me read about the rules of the debate. Now, first, the students in the debate team will not be changed till the end of the contest. However, due to the illness and similar excuses, a substitute student can attend the debate team if the excuse is accepted. There will be no presentation by computer, but visual materials such as books, newspapers, posters, magazines, etc. can be used in the contest. In the process of the debate, the spokesman of the team will speak first. Following him, her, 5 minutes, the other members of the team will present their speech. The members will make their first 5-minute conversation with each other in the order they have determined. In the second round, the spokesman of the teams will take the floor again and answer the criticism directed at them within 7 minutes and complete the missing information. In the debates, each speaker will be evaluated by the jury over 100 points according to the evaluation form. The last, the maximum points for one team will not exceed 400. Now, final stage, our subject is now IMKB, Social Science High School, is going to support the history. History is playing an important role in Alanya's history is important. Now, priority is in tourism will be supported by Alanya Anatoly High School. Now, we are going to start the first 5-minute speech by, yes, Social Science High School.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you here at the Cultural Center of our cultural city, Alanya, to the grand final of the English debate. I want to take a journey with you, where we are going to take a look at the history of Caucasium and tell you why history should be our #1 priority for Caucasium. So if you're ready, let's begin. First of all, to make an accurate decision, we have to see things from the point of view of our target group, the tourists. We have to start at the earliest time, the time where the tourist decides where to go for holiday. If the tourist comes across Alanya, we can be pretty happy. But now we have to attract this tourist more, so he or she decides to choose Caucasium for their next holiday. To attract the tourists, we have to ask ourselves questions like, why do tourists come to Caucasium, or why should they visit Caucasium? And the first thing related to Caucasium, which we will think about, is Caucasium's history, right? Caucasium has a lot of traditional and old buildings and places. For example, Caucasium Castle, Red Tower, Damlataş Cave, Sapodi Canyons, and much more. Caucasium is full of historical places, and we should use this as an advantage for us. Think about yourself. I guess and hope that you either go to school or to work 5 days in a week. At the weekends, you probably do the same activities again and again. Wow, seems to be that this can bore you. So, if you go on holiday, you want to experience something different than your daily routines. See different buildings and things than your everyday view. So, here, history joins the party. History shares interesting information with us, which are may even forgotten. But we can save those important messages left by our ancestors. History gives us an insight of our cultural and historical background, such as ancient cultures, endangered traditions, and forgotten things. Isn't this the exact point which tourists are interested in? Caucasium tells a story of many lifetimes and generations, lasting far longer than me and the rest of us. A recent trip to my hometown in Germany once again highlighted this importance of history. And I will try to convey it to you today. So, in my hometown, there are many historical buildings, all under monumental protection, but we also use them today. For example, we have a bank, or a city hall in those buildings. We do this to keep those historical buildings alive, implement them in our lives, to learn from them. We've given priority to history. Tourists and natives feel like they are a part of a much bigger system. By giving them the feeling that they are a part of a big system, we can make their visit in Caucasium much more comfortable and enjoyable. And there is another side effect. If we pay attention to the history of Caucasium, also the tourists are going to change. Coming tourists are more cultural and interested in Caucasium, and don't come just to sunbathe, have a drink in a bar, and throw their rubbish here. This automatically leads to a cleaner and more friendly city and environment. But before I end my speech, I want to ask you a question. Did you notice anything unfamiliar with my speech? I always talked about Caucasium, although our topic is Alanya. So, what is Caucasium? Until the 7th century, our cultural city, Alanya, was called Caucasium. So, was history able to attract your attention like it does, and the tourists too? Think about it. Thank you for your attention.
First part of the speech has been completed by IMKB Social Science High School. Now it's time for the juries to assess the speech. Now, Alanya Anatolian High School is going to make their speech, first 5-minute speech, yes.
Good afternoon, dear jury, teachers, and the students. My name is Ilya. I've talked for 36 minutes till now. We have come a really long way from the Alanya High School to be here. And welcome everyone to our last show. Today we want to talk about the reasons which makes the tourism the purity of the Alanya. Well, tourism is operation, organization, and commercial of the holidays, and this is the place of the interest. And just like you know, without a tourist, you cannot have the tourism. So who is a tourist? I like to call it a bee. Because just like a bee collecting the pollen and nectar of a flower and then pollinate the other plants, a tourist, when they visit our city, they will collect our history and culture. And when they went back to their countries, they will publish what they saw at all over the world. Which means they bring us fame and everything that goes with it. Thanks to them all. But the fame is not the only things that the tourists brought to this city. More than 13,000 houses been bought by the tourists. More than 20,000 jobs been made by tourism. And more than $30 million came to this city last year by the tourists. Now I want to ask you a question. How much money Alanya earned at all last year? $77 million. And how much of it was because of the tourism? $13 million. Which means without the tourism, this number could be only $47 million. I want to ask you, does $42 million enough to supply the budget of the city for a complete day? Can it feed the families and children at the winter? Like I said before, there is 20,000 jobs which been based on the tourism. What will happen if 20,000 persons just lost their jobs tomorrow? Anything but a disaster? Okay, now that's what would happen without the tourism money. But what will happen without the tourism? I don't even want to think about it. Because there's 14,000 tourists which living here, and they are the part of the city. Look at all of the teams which came till here. We all had at least one foreign member. You're a foreign student too, then? Yes, the tourists are the part of the Alanya, and Alanya is bounded with tourism. But when I'm saying tourists, you maybe think about those old people walking at the beach. But no, we have so many different types of the tourists and tourism, such as sportive tourism and health tourism. And they are coming to Alanya and nearly all of the year. You know why? Because our Turkish hospitality is not only for 2 months. It's not true. Why Alanya has 10% of all Turkey tourism. But there is no problem at all with our history. We love it, we're proud to it, but we can't go on with it anymore. There is no problem at all between the tourism and the history. Let me give you an example. You are a manager of a hotel which always had only one door. Now the number of your guests are increasing every year, so you have to add more and more doors. Now let's compare it with our subject. The number of tourists in this city is increasing. Even our own population is increasing. The old ways won't answer the new ages. We have to add doors such as hosting the events, exchanging with our sister city, and even history. Yes, history is only one of the doors which can be used on the tourism. The world is changing. We have to change ourselves too. But we can't do it with our history. We're proud of it. But we can't just use it anymore for earning the money, for sharing ourselves. We have to update ourselves, but we cannot change the history. What is past is past. If we don't want to be a part of the history, we need a connection with the rest of the world. And the easiest way to make this connection is by tourism. I can't see a city which is needless to money anymore. A population which their story been heard by all of the world. I can say young people which are not worried for their future job. because they're living in the diamond of the Turkey, Alanya. They're living in a city with beautiful Turkish colon and with a view to the future. This city, respecting the past and embracing the future, this city calls Alanya.
First 5 minutes speech have been completed by the schools. It's time for juries to assess the speaker of Alanya Anatolian High School. Now, second 5-minute speeches will be made by the schools. First, we'll listen IMKB Social Science School first. Yes.
Welcome, my grandchildren. You all know who I am. I'm your ancestor, Keykubat. I came from the depths of your history. If I hadn't been in here in that time, there would be something different. One day, I saw a dream. It was about here, in Alanya. And all of the winter was like a spring day. The Mediterranean shine was dazzling my eyes. And one day, as I said, all the architectures and environment were unimaginably amazing. There was one thing that reasoned me to be blessed. And that was the castle. A voice called out to me, if this room still haven't conquered, this conquest is vouchsafed to you. Keep your Selçuk's history alive. The castle was being seen by every other castles from Alanya. For example, Alara, and Siedra, and Sinek. All these castles can see Alanya Castle. Can you imagine this castle, how important? Or can you understand how huge it is? Or can you understand why did I make here the capital town of Anatolian Selçuk Empire? Despite being imperial, I have never damaged any vestige from Hellenistic period or any antique accumulation from Romans. A headman, everyone said, a headman have to be in the heart of his castle. But I didn't want it, and I sent my yes men to build in there on the seashore. And I built it on the seashore, as I said. There was a praying room in the center of the castle from Hellenes. Do you know why? Because I didn't want to clear and delete my back because it is important. I know, and you should know, Turks, get our impetus from our history. As your ancestor, I want only one thing, learn. Teaching and protecting the history is the best thing to keep the people conscious. Because the history is, but my crowd shuttered them. For what? Just because of tourism. You are erasing your history just for the foreign currency. You cannot interfere to sense, especially the sun and the sea. But you had retained to town's historical fabric, but you didn't. And also, you're not doing that now. This is the cause of this discussion here. For instance, we have named somewhere as Şikarhane. But where is it? Where is the place, where is the hunting marquee that I constitute? I learned that you changed it as Şekerhane, and I can't accept it. You blend down all the architectures and buildings that I had taken pains with them. Nothing endless, nothing is endless. We can change it. We have a chance to change it. Listen to me. Folkways and traditions cannot step in daily life in a town in Turkey as well as Alanya. The cultural originality is an important factor for the touristic demand creator. My grandchildren, as you call it, Alanya, is the town that I inherited for all of you. Thanks for listening.
For the speech made by the school. Now jury is going to sustain the speech. Now, second, 5-minute speech will be made by Alanya Anatolian High School.
Hi everyone, I'm a tourist and my name is Jade. I came here from UK and today I'm going to talk about my excellent holiday in Alanya. When I searched for Alanya on Google, it told me that Alanya is a popular holistic resort and tourism center. And this is what I really wanted. And I decided to go Alanya, which is famous for its weather, sand and the sun. Then I was searching for hotels. I saw so many hotels that offer me great food, facilities, and services. Now, I'm going to talk about my experiences. From April until October, Alanya changes into big city from a little town. And Alanya gives me unique mixture of adventure, nature, and relaxation. I came here to relax, to find myself, and stay away stressful life. I swam, I sunbathed, and enjoyed with the hot weather. Let me give you some advice. If you want to see Alanya's amazing view, you can use cable cars and enjoy with great view. Then feel yourself like a bird. Do you know what is health tourism? Alanya offers you to heal yourself in Dim cave. And Dim cave can cure asthma diseases like a miracle. And the weather of Alanya is good for many diseases too. When you get bored of hot weather, you can go Dim cave and enjoy with the cooling weather. You can eat delicious food while sitting in pergolas which are located above the weather. If you want to see some natural places, then I can advise you Saturday Canyon. You can feel yourself alive and fresh among all the trees and in a valley. Even after the sun goes down, Alanya is still awake and ready for fun. You can walk on bar streets, and if you want, you can enter one of them. For 17 years, Alanya prepares a festival which is called Tourism Festival. And people, nearly 3,000 people, nearly 3,000 people join this concert and jazz festivals to enjoy with music, dance, and food day and night. And I had a chance to share my culture to people from different countries. And I learned so many things from them too. Alanya taught me to say merhaba. When I went to back my country, I taught it to my friends too. Country can help us to share our cultures. And even in December, while other historical places were sleeping, I was having fun in Münazara. And I met lots of friends in there. And I want to ask a question. What is the most important thing for human health? Sport. And Alanya knows the importance of this. Every year, triathlon competitions take place in Alanya. And sportsmen come here from 30 different countries to compete in. And for paralyzed people, there's also special competitions. They enjoy it and compete. Even if I'm not a sportsman, I could feel their happiness in my heart. This holiday was the best holiday in my life. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to come back again and again to Alanya to see the sun, to swim in this beautiful sea, to enjoy with warm weather. And the last thing, I want to ask you a question again. Would you go to a restaurant again and again whose food you didn't like? I don't think so. Thanks for listening.
Julie will assess the speech. Okay. Now, third 5-minute speech will be made by the schools. We'll listen first. I am KB's Social Science School first.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our debate. As the first speaker, I'm going to talk about the effects of history on tourism and why we should prioritize history. First of all, I'd like to remind you that we're not saying that tourism isn't important. What we're saying here is that if you prioritize the renovation of historical places and ancient ruins, we can increase tourism and transmit our historical background to the next generations. Now, let's talk about how historical places affect the number of visitors every year. My first example is a research done by the Ministry of Tourism in 2018. They found out that in 2018, only 7 million people visited Antalya. But Istanbul had over 10 million visitors in a tourist point. Why do you think Istanbul had more visitors than Antalya? Because Istanbul has beautiful beaches and crystal clear sea? Of course not. People visited ancient ruins and historical places in Istanbul, such as Topkapı Palace or Sultanahmet Mosque. And this is not the only example of how history affects tourism. Do you know this place? This is Stone Age, which is located in England, where the weather is always bad. But even though there's no sun, there's no beach, there's no sea, millions of people visit Stone Age every year. Why do you think so many people visit Stone Age? Well, I guess it's the pure mystery of our history. In these examples, you can see that history
is the main factor for keeping tourism alive. Without history, tourism can evolve only up to a point. So if we renovate our historical places and protect them better, we can increase tourism too. Remember, tourism is only 6 months long, but history is all year round. Now what about the shopping malls, buildings, hotels, roads we built as a result of tourism? Alanya used to be full of orange, lemon, and banana gardens, but we destroyed them to construct buildings, hotels, shopping malls. And for what? For the sake of tourism. Look at Alanya now. Full of buildings and not a single orchard. What about tourist attractions? What does count as a tourist attraction? Tourist attractions are historical places or ancient ruins that are important for a city or for a country. I mean, what would be the first place you'd visit in China? You all know the answer. The Great Wall of China, of course. Or, what would be the first place you'd visit in Italy? The Colosseum, of course. In these examples, you can see that these places, the most visited places, are historical tourist attractions that are well known by many people. And because those people renovated and protect these historical buildings, ruins in the past, now these places are tourist attractions for many foreign visitors too. In Alanya, there are over 200 historic houses that are still waiting for renovation, and they are slowly decaying. If we don't start renovating these houses, they're going to collapse, and it'll be impossible to reconstruct them ever again. If these houses collapse, we're going to lose a big part of our history. Now let's talk about places like, places has such stories, like historical backgrounds, such as Cleopatra Beach. Alanya's most well-known beach is Cleopatra Beach. And why do you think Cleopatra Beach is the most well-known in Alanya? Because the sand is softer and the water is clearer there? Well, of course not. It's the most well-known beach in Alanya because it has a story to it. The story says that Cleopatra used to sunbath in that beach, and it was her own place to swim and enjoy the waters. And such stories like this always, and I mean always, fascinate people and makes them want to come, see, visit these places. I mean, in these examples, you can see that the main factor we're talking about here is history and not tourism. Because history is keeping tourism alive. And in this case, shouldn't we prioritize history so everything can run smoothly? Thank you for your attention.
It's time to assess. Now, 5-minute speech will be completed by the schools with the last speaker of Alanya Anatolian High School. Now, I invite the last 5-minute speaker of Alanya High School. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, dear guests, parents, teachers, and students. My name is Harun, and I will talk about economical matters about Alanya, a place where sun smiles. I want to start with employment in Alanya first. Alanya hosts approximately 3.5 million tourists a year, and this number can exceed the 4 million sometimes. So, how is this related to employment that you are going to ask, right? Basically, this small but gigantic city hosts 11 times of its own population a year. With hotels employing workers, this city employs 100,000 people a year, feeds 100,000 people. Shocking, right? But wait, the stakes are higher than 100,000, since the money earned from tourism also helps farmers, tailors, hairdressers, and tradesmen, etc. Alanya Hoteliers Association's minister, Fransili, says there are so many tourists who prefer Alanya. With buying houses in Alanya, they have a big role in advertising Alanya in Turkey. In addition to this, how are these houses are being sold? Yes, estate agents. There are a total of 331 estate agents registered to Alanya's website. And all of these are related to employment in some ways. Unemployment, sorry. As long as tourism is in this city, you can't find it. Alanya holds 30% of tourists of its big city Antalya and has 662 facilities with nearly 86,000 rooms. But besides this 30% of Antalya, Alanya takes 1 in 10 tourists who come to Turkey every year. By emphasizing Alanya has facilities with over 300,000 bed capacity, Mr. Suat Çavuşoğlu, Minister of Union of Travel Agencies of Turkey, says Alanya's great benefit from tourism is 80%. This shows that, like columns of a building, the base of the economy in Alanya is tourism. Progress and development of a city depends on economy, employment rates, and peace of its citizens. And this small city, in which sun smiles, has all of these thanks to tourism. And let's look at restoration, maintenance, and advertisements of historical buildings. Before tourism, in 1950s, as you can see in the picture, these buildings were in a bad condition. But with tourism, these historical places have been repaired with the money earned from tourism. And the total money put aside by the municipality for restoration in 2019 is 4.5 million Turkish liras. If it weren't for tourism, we couldn't restore these buildings, and we wouldn't be able to demonstrate these buildings in front of people, to the tourists. Tourism is the one which advertised these buildings to the world through travel agencies. These structures, like the castle, was always here, but only started being known only after tourism. That's why tourism should be the priority of Alanya. Lastly, tourism, like my friend said, tourism is not only sands, beaches, and sun. It has different parts. And history is one of these parts. History is a sequence of events or structures built at least 50 years ago. And these structures, like the castle, were not built for historical purposes. They were first built for living and military purposes. And as time passed, these places became historical places. But for a place to become a historical place, it needs to be in front of people, demonstrated, and this becomes historical tourism. Like going to Medina for religious purposes, religion tourism, traveling to Cuba for cancer treatment, health tourism. Historical tourism is also a part of this small range. But tourism is a big wing that embraces every of these small parts. Priority is and must be tourism. Thanks for listening.
Now, 5 minute speeches have completely finished. Students are going to make their final 7 minute speech. We will listen IMKB Social Science High School first. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the last time from today's proposition. And it is now my pleasure to summarize our arguments. But before, I want to take a look at what the opposition said. So, the first example they gave was that tourism is like a bee. But we saw what happened to Alanya, what tourists do to Alanya. They throw their rubbish on the ground, left their rubbish here, and this is what tourists do. They maybe have a good effect, but they also have many, many bad effects. And we have to stop this. And as I said, with giving priority to history, we can change the tourists, make them more cultural and interested in our city. And then they also said that tourism renovates, but tourism, yes, we gave a lot priority to tourism. In the last years, we gave a lot attention to tourism. But don't you think that it's now time to give a little bit of our attention to history? Because as our third speaker told us, we saw that Alanya is getting in a bad condition. It's getting worse every day, day by day. And we have to stop this. And we can stop this by giving priority to history. And they gave us an example that told us that we have to change the doors, make more doors. But what about not changing the door, but changing the people who are going through the door? What about changing the tourists who use this door? We can change the tourists, as I said, with history, giving priority to history. So it's not always about changing the other side, the door. It's about changing the tourists which come to us. And they talked about money, but money doesn't make us happy. Quality is more important than quantity. In my opinion, I would like to have 100 good tourists instead of 1 billion or 10 million bad tourists, because the quality is important, not how much tourists are there. Then, as our first speaker said, it's not about the shame and the size. It's about the history behind it. Tourists come here because they want to see something, they want to learn something about another culture, and not about how the sun particle in the Cleopa beach looks and what the shape is of it. So, about healing. They talked about healing, that many tourists come here because they are ill and they want to get healed. But do you really think that if we increase tourism, build more hotels, buildings, and which causes air pollution, that after this, tourists are coming here anymore? Do you really think that they are getting healed if we build so much buildings and hotels here, which cause air pollution? And they talked about the tourism bazaar events and bazaars what are made in Alanya, but what are they about? What is their topic? Isn't it history? Are they not all about history? For example, the Christmas bazaar, it's about history. Everything is about history. So they talked about advertising Alanya hotels, buildings, and they always talked about making new buildings, but that's enough. Do you want to have a city like the capital of China where you can't see something because due to so much air pollution? I don't think so, that you want such a city here. And what about the houses which are still waiting to be renovated? We saw, yes, the Alanya Castle, but it's the only thing which got renovated. We have over 200 houses which are still waiting to be renovated. And is the base of Alanya tourism or history? I think history, because even the name Alanya has its own history. So this was everything we want to say. Now let's see what the outcome of our arguments actually are. we saw that tourists want to see different and interesting things. History is able to attract those tourists and make their holiday more interesting. History is essential and the fundamental part of Alanya. It tells us important messages about our past. And I want to ask you something. Do you buy a book because of its content or its cover? I think you buy a book because you want to read what's inside and not because the cover looks good. And this is what history about is. History tells us a story. Tourists are interested in the story of something, not of its shape and size. And as our third speaker talked about the effects of history on tourism and why we should renovate those places. She mentioned about the places with historical backgrounds and stories, such as the Cleopatra Beach. She also talked about the historical houses in Alanya and why we should renovate them. So we read, as you can see, a lot of books. We found them in the library of the Alanya Museum, and we visited them, and we also met the director there, and we talked with him. As you can see in this picture, we talked with the director of the Alanya Museum. And the thing we want to say is, we can transfer history. So in Kiev, Prague, and Eskişehir, they tried this. They make beaches along the river, try to heat them up, and try to make them similar to the history in other places. But they weren't successful because we can't transfer history. History has its place, and we can't just say, take Alanya Castle and bring it to, for example, Germany. We can't do this. So we have to save those historical buildings, because when they once forgotten, we can't bring them back in our lives. So we tried to make a good impression about history, and that was everything I wanted to say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Social Science Arts, with the 7-minute speech. Now, Julius will assess the speech. Now, last speech will be made by Alanya Anatolian High School, and we're going to get the final score from the juries, and the winner school will be announced. Now, this is your time to speak.
All know me. I'm Milli. I'm not a Turk, but I love to introduce myself as a Turk. After I saw the reaction of the people of this city, my teachers, my friends, it all made me stand under this flag today with honor, and none of this could happen with all of the money in the world. The Turkey government could invest so much money on me, but some things are unviable. The hospitality of the people of this city made me to stand under this flag today, honorable. And all of these starts with a trick moment. Just like a human, a city needs all of its parts to stay alive. My hands, it was my organ culture. They sweated and made my way. If I lose them now, it's hard to go on, but I'm still carried on. My legs, they made me stand and proud. Without them, without my history, it's hard, but I am still alive. But now, my heart, the way that I made connection with everyone with it, the way that I told my history and history to all of the world with it. The things which made me, me. Without this, am I still alive? No. Without my heart, there is no more me. Without the tourism, there is no more Alanya. The history of Alanya is beautiful and shiny. But who said that if we are using our history, we cannot use the tourism too? Just tell me one reason that if we are using our tourism, it will disrespect the history, or it will stop the history. I want to clear it with an example. This precious, beautiful flower of mine is my everything. That's why I kept it out of the touch, to protect it. But now, as you can see, it's fading away because it needs oxygen, it needs water, sunshine. But as long as it's caged at this cage, it can't receive them. It's dying. But now, if I remove it can receive all of those necessary genes which is need to grow and to live with it. Also, bees can come and pollinate from a beautiful flower. And one day, this sweet rose of mine can become a garden and makes the world beautiful. We have a beautiful, great culture and history, but as long as we kept it in the inside of the city, as long as we close the gate of the city, no one's going to hear our history. And what's the difference between don't having a history and having the unheard history? We need to show the world who we were and who we are. The source of this city are limited. The historical places are limited. The fossil energies are limited. We need the way, and we cannot just feed the population of 300,000 of Alanya only with farming. We cannot solve their needs. We need a new ways, and the best way for us of doing this is tourism. But when I'm talking about the money of the tourism, I'm not only talking about those beaches, those stores at the beach and these places. No, I'm talking about the currency. One of the best ways to supply the budget of the country is entering the foreign currency. And one of the best ways to increase the amount of the currency is attract tourists and having the tourism. Not only that, but also when the tourists come to the city, we have to upgrade the ways and create more and more ways, which are going to make everything even easier for us too. Like my friend asked before, yes, I remember that castle part. Especially, I know you very well. You know why? Because we teach the world, taught the world how to know our big persons, how to know our history. The castle, we love it. But it's not the Middle Ages anymore. Now castle is a big, beautiful memory of those days. In tourism system, we're really proud to show our history and our castle to all of the world. And first, yes, Kegawat, I know him. That's because the tourism taught me who he was. And now, how much historical places do we have? 5, 7, 8? Can we earn enough money to supply the budget of the city for all of the year with it? Can we feed the families and children at the winter with it? Yes, we need the quality tourists, because we can't buy another city. Because of that, we need that quality tourist. And that's the future of the tourism. For having a good tourist, you need to improve your tourism. And now, that makes the tourism the purity of the Alanya. And Christmas. Yes, Christmas is a good history, but it's not our history. It's all been shared with all of the countries. Yes, the connections. Now you can understand what am I saying? That's all I wanted to tell you.
All speeches have been completely finished by the schools. The final score and the winner's school will be announced after jury's last assessment. Now, our Mayor of Alanya, Adem Murat Yücel, we are welcoming him now. I'd like to welcome Adem Murat Yücel, the Mayor of Alanya. Now I know the result. Really, it's very close to each other. Very, very close to each other. Now I'm going to talk about one of my childhood experience to you. Once upon a time, I was... Okay, I know. Okay, there are two scores here. Two scores. First of all, I'm going to announce you the scores to you. Now, 373. 373 and 382. 382. 382 goes to Alanya High School. Kazanan okul Alanya Anadolu Lisesi. Ödül töreni için Milli Eğitim Müdürümüz Hüseyin Er ve Belediye Başkanımız Adem Murat Yücel'i sahneye davet ediyorum.
Vedat.
Üçüncü olan okulumuz Oba Nazmi Yılmaz Lisesi, Anadolu Lisesi. Sahneye davet ediyorum.
Hanımefendi.
Oba Nazmi Yılmaz Anadolu Lisesi 3. olan okulumuzu davet ediyoruz.
Kızım çekil oradan. Şşş, hey. Şu arkadaş